Thanks for being here today. Before we start with the panel, let me please quickly introduce these people that you will hear of today. We have an exceptional panel, local market expert, operator, affiliates, and commercial leader, all with a skin in the game in Mexico. Let me please introduce you to Abib Sher. He is the CEO of Codere Online, a Nasdaq-listed operator and one of the largest licensed players in Mexico, where Codere generates the majority of the revenue. Abib just reported Q1 a few weeks ago, so very fresh number to dig in. Thank you, Abib, for being here.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Rosa Ochoa. Rosa has more than 20 years in the Mexico market gaming industry, advises AIEJA, which is the gaming association, and it's also partner of Blue Global Gaming. If anyone knows in this stage knows about the Mexican market from inside out, for sure is Rosa. Rosa, thank you.
Thank you.
Then we have Lucas. Lucas, he's the CEO of Blue Bull, a platform and managed services provider working for operator across Latam. Lucas has a clear cross-market view on what works and what doesn't work in Mexico to Brazil and beyond. Thank you, Lucas. Carlos Sanchez, he's the CEO of Tipster Chat, one of the fastest growing tipster and creator marketplaces in Latam with a strong traction in Mexico. Carlos sees the affiliate and community side of his market every single day.
Thank you.
Then Ruben Guillén, he is the head of commercial partnership on Tourette Sport Entertainment, bringing the sponsorship and partnership lens, which matters a lot in the World Cup, just 3 weeks days away. So thank you, Ruben.
Hello, thank you.
So before to start, the title of this panel posts have a question. Let me put you in. Rosa, with 20 years on the ground, is Mexico actually mature, or are we scaling something mature that is barely scratched the surface?
Well, Mexico is certainly a hybrid market. It cannot be considered as a copy-paste in comparison with other Latin American countries, of course, even if we speak Spanish. We have a regulation, as you all know, since 1947, with a couple of new updates. But the market demands goes faster than the structures currently in Mexico. So it is a market with opportunities for online, considering the current land-based environment, of course. And there are several actors now moving into the country, trying to understand how things work, what the market demands, and the opportunities. Certainly, there is a key factor here that I would like to mention, that is the digital trust. It's important to consider this, the digital trust, and that's something that in general is very much appreciated. The mouth-to-mouth suggestions as well, and how the market is changing for new generation of players entering into this scope.
Thanks. Abib?
Well, Mexico, I think, is still in a growth phase, and it's going to be like that. We estimate at least for the next 5 years. We see double-digit growth on our revenues, and we are quite sure the market grows almost at the same pace as our revenue is growing. We can also see how Rushbet is reporting their revenues, and Caliente a little bit how they are reporting their revenues. So everyone is growing double digits. It means the market is still in a growth phase and not mature. We need to see post World Cup. The guys from Caliente always told me that after experience a World Cup, we see a jump in GGR. So we should see another jump happening in the next year following the World Cup. New customers will probably try sport betting around the World Cup, and the market will continue to grow. So to answer, we are still in a growth phase. It's not mature yet, not yet.
Lucas?
Yeah, for me the same, right? It's still on the rise. I think also some operators at some point were looking at LATAM as a whole. No, I believe also like more, let's say, European or big operators in Europe have learned their lessons from Mexico down to Brazil, and not treating every country as a whole in LATAM. And I think we're on the second wave, probably like sports betting with Caliente and the JV with Playtech and the rest was like on the rise. Then when the Play Do It and Play Ojo and another players came into the market, there was a big wave, and still ongoing with the casino, online casino, new content and new type of content that players are gravy, let's say, to consume. So I think this wave will certainly continue, and as Aviv was saying, World Cups, hunger normally continues to the new season. So definitely, it's a market, probably the big, well, probably not the biggest Spanish-speaking uh, iGaming market, right? So definitely a good one to still come in if you have enough budget to fight.
Mhm. Carlos?
Well, definitely. I think that Mexico is becoming more mature as a market. Still, long way to go if we compare it with other, markets, especially like European markets. In our case, we were born in Spain, and now Mexico is our core and main market. We've been there for like 5 or 6 years. So obviously, we still see a lot of things that will happen probably to compare the level of maturity that we see, for example, in Spain, in from all different angles. But I see, a few things that make me, think that this is more mature. So from an affiliate point of view, so I see, for example, operators, yeah, looking more at quality of the traffic instead of just volume. I see, we work with content creators, with tipsters, so I see that they are becoming more professionalized. So they learn how to make their own deals with the operators. They learn how to bring the right traffic. They are learning how to not burn relationships with operators. So definitely, I think that we are seeing a more mature market, and I think that we can expect more good things to happen as a result of that. And I see still a lot of international players trying to enter the Mexican market, but a few less, I would say, and or at least with different angles, or maybe like with some learnings from others. So definitely, I think that a lot of opportunities still to see happening in Mexico.
Ruben?
So, I mean, I bring to my field more, but I would say that at the end, Mexico has a huge potential because at the end, if we compare with other markets, as my peer said, like, I mean, there's a long way to work on it, and so far been like very few operators, like let's say, leading the sponsorship landscape and so on. Now with the World Cup, I believe it's going to be accelerator. Much more other operators are going to enter in the market, and there are plenty of opportunities that we will see. Also, for example, in football and other sports, we see that they are more open to explore other opportunities beyond the traditional or the local operator. So looks like exciting, to be honest.
You, Abib and Lucas, write something quite interesting, which is not mature enough. What pieces are missing in Mexico for not being mature enough? Is it something related with payment methods? Is the player behavior? What are the missing pieces here?
No, I think it's a matter of size a little bit. It's a very big country with a lot of different, let's call it, segments of potential players. And the penetration, I don't want to say internet penetration, because today it's even hard to think of a place that there is no internet penetration. But I think e-commerce, the ability to buy online, it's not a matter of payment methods. The payment methods in Mexico, the banking system is more advanced actually than Europe. I know it's surprising, but it's more advanced, and it's more a matter of adaptation by the people, by the segments, and the size of the country is so big that it takes time. Plus, traditionally, the retail, the offline betting was also strong. So for the new generation to come in and start playing more and more online and less in retail, it just takes time. So we are still in this phase where there is a transition from retail to online. Plus, there is a transition which is still happening around the world, or in a, let's call it, developing country, from retail to online in the e-commerce and e-commerce and gambling side, that gives more trust to the player to actually bet, to see the money comes in and comes out. It just takes more time, a little bit behind the Europe or the US in that sense. But it's just a matter of time.
Lucas?
Well, the same in terms of even Mexico as a market. From let's say north to south, they play different sports even, right? The ones that are maybe closer to the U.S. border, they will play different like U.S. Sports rather than the ones in the south, etc. Related to payments, again the same. The banking system works perfectly. Bank transfer, by far the most common. Maybe we miss something like we have like here in Spain or in Brazil, like the Pix, the Bizum, which will make it even quicker related to this like e-commerce, etc. But I know it's a topic that we want to avoid here is the regulation, right? But I think the fact that there's a lot of easy access to being able to operate on the gray, darker gray areas in Mexico makes it as well, probably slows down the maturity of the market, right? Where we see like tax rising and stuff. But uh, yeah, I think guidance, let's say, to the players, new generations in terms of what size to gamble, what size not to gamble, probably from a VIF perspective, with the land base, maybe there will be some transformation as well in terms of the angle on how to get the players online and cross-sell to the online platform, and maybe the casinos, as it is in LATAM in general, are more like an entertainment place with different types of shows and stuff. Will also help this maturity point, let's say. But for me, this Mexico always been on the gray edge, right? Makes it harder for the market as well to mature, or for the players to know exactly how to gamble, or where to gamble, where not to gamble, and what to do, what not to do.
Rosa, we'd like to hear your thoughts about that.
I would like to mention something that I have found and I have been discussing with some people, and that is the similarity in some ways between fintechs and iGaming, because we have a similar, let's say, onboarding about KYCs, identifying who is behind the screen, right? So that has helped a lot in terms also of payments, because there are more and more operators, even if that is not required by the regulation that we know is there, but not fully updated, right? Uh, Operators are concerned that they should accomplish those requirements, you know, because that prepares them for what's coming, but also to create some sort of certainty for players, so they know where they're playing, right? That they are supported. So there are also some fintech platforms that are, as you must know, are widely used in the country. So that is helping players to understand how the process to be registered works. So there is this
Rosa, when you say about the regulation is old, how old is the regulation in Mexico?
is old enough, from 1947, as
1947.
most of you know, but we had a new sort of update on 2004 and then 2023, if I recall well. So even the market goes faster than the current regulatory structure, but that doesn't limit the offer that exists because there is demand in the market.
Wow. And Javi, how easy is working in a listed operator um, with a regulation in 1947?
Yeah, so it's not exactly a regulator. You need to understand it. What we have in Mexico is a very, very old law. There is no regulation framework. They have a body called the Segov that tries to regulate the market, mainly around the promotions and give permissions. The law itself, just as knowledge, is talking about phone bets, to accept betting on the phone. And from that, they got to a conclusion that it's allowed to accept bets online. We've been discussing with the government prior to this government changed, about a regulatory framework like we know in Europe, where there is actually rules and regulations. Right now, it's just under this very old law and some corrections on how you should operate. And under that, we are operating plus paying taxes. So it's not exactly a regulatory framework like we know in other places, which also allows you to operate on a federal level, for example, similar to Brazil, but very different from what you see in the United States, for example. So even in Mexico, by states, it's still a federal law that rules it, and we pay taxes under that. As a listed company, of course, we are doing everything by the books. We have proof and evidence for every act that we are taking in order to show that everything is right and according to regulation. We have Segov approval to the actions that we are taking, plus permits that allows us to operate. So we are trying to build our own, let's call it regulation framework, in order to operate correctly in this market and as wide as possible, like we are doing in any other market.
Thank you. Let's discuss about a hot topic, which is the World Cup. With the World Cup around the corner, like 3 weeks ahead, Ruben, from a sponsorship lens, what should operators be doing right now that most of them aren't?
So, I mean, with the World Cup, like prices seems like rise a lot. And then also the biggest spot, which is the sponsoring the World Cup, is taken through exclusivity deal. And then also other opportunities obviously are taken by Caliente, for example, that you mentioned with the national team and so on. But still, there are like taking out apart the investing in media, which is, as I said, is quite expensive. There are other cost-effective opportunities that we can find, like from like campaigns with brand ambassadors, with famous people linked with the World Cup, until like creative campaigns, concepts that we can do with or sponsorships with football related teams, also in Mexico, outside of Mexico. So I mean, there are plenty of opportunities. I mean, you just need to be more creative, and also not the biggest spenders are going to win the race. It's just to be. I mean, there are other opportunities that makes you there in the on the in the field, you know, like in the stage.
All right. Carlos, how do you face the World Cup with the tipsters?
Yeah. So the World Cup, obviously, it's a huge opportunity for acquisition of new users. I think that there will be a lot of people approaching sports betting for the first time, probably. Because of the World Cup and all the content that will be generated around it. So I think it's a good opportunity to open the industry to this new users. Obviously, acquiring will be a lot more expensive. So from our point of view, I think we are in a very good position to offer better approach to acquiring and engaging with these new users, because at the end of the day, these are people who will be betting for the first time. So they are looking for advice. They are looking for content. They are looking for how to engaging with this content creators, with tips beyond just purely betting. But I think that the key question around the World Cup and the opportunities that it brings is, what happens, in August or in September with all this huge volume of, new users that you can acquire. And I think, at the end of the day, it's all about retention and the ability that you will have as an affiliate in our case, to, bring, good retention. And again, for us, it's all about retention. So if we compare how we can acquire new users for our operators, so in our case, the angle is not that much around bonuses, offers, like deals, gifts. It's more about bringing the right context on why you should place a bet on that with that operator. And that's what tipsters know how to do very well. They do it organically. They do it without real intention in most of the cases. Then they realize that they can make some money out of that as well, and then it all goes wrong in most of the cases. But I think it's it's about retention, and I think it's about bringing good quality of traffic. So I think we need to find the right balance between bringing high volumes of new users, but with the right intention, and looking at the long term. Because as I said at the beginning, what we are seeing is that most operators, they are not just not anymore asking for volume. They want quality, and they want retention. So I think that's critical, and I think the World Cup, it's a good opportunity to work on that.
Who will win?
Spain,
Spain?
of course.
That's your tip?
Yeah.
France.
Shachar?
Good point.
Lucas.
Oh, just basically to follow on what Carlos was saying, like from our managed services angle, let's say we get operators now looking desperately for traffic. It's too late, right? If you're a new operator and you wanted to go live before the World Cup, well, maybe you're live, but you will be fighting against Coderes of this world, right? Like they have big budgets. They've been there for ages. They know what they're doing. They can engage with the players on the land base. They can then cross sell to the online. So yes, the World Cup is good to engage with new players. If you're already established and you are looking to expand and spend some more budget, but also you need to be ready for the after World Cup spending on retention, engagement with your brand. Because if you don't have that strategy already set up for the post World Cup, then that budget that you spent on the World Cup, if you manage to spend any and be on time with the whole strategy, then you're just burning money on the World Cup. You also have the group phase, which is match after match after match after match. But then things will slow down as you advance on the World Cup, and you need to keep these players engaged and in your platform, in your like as a brand. If you don't manage that and you don't retain the player beyond the World Cup, then you're just spending money.
But you pointed out something very interesting, which is it's too late for new entries. So what about big brands that are just entering the Mexican market, for instance, Steak or other big ones? What do you say? It's too late for them?
Well, Stake has money, so yeah, they can definitely do last minute. I mean, then they've been using influencers and things forever, but small players, it's too late. They should focus on the next season. Okay, yes, open your sportsbook and take a few bets here and there. Maybe find some brand ambassadors, spend some budget on PPC, performance marketing, but don't go crazy, because if you're expecting to, let's say, if your survival depends on your World Cup campaign and you're just wrapping it up now, yeah, I think you'll be dead after World Cup, basically.
Javi, how do you balance aggressive World Cup spend with the fact that most of the player might churn by August?
Well, It's a good question. We let's say we are trying to avoid the World Cup spend, continue with our, let's call it, regular spend. Prices are 20 to 25% up during this time, and we are kind of made a decision not to play this game at the moment, a little bit based on what he said, that we are already invested in the game for many years. Top of mind, we already have presence, and now buying customers or buying sports for 20 to 25% more, we think is too expensive for us, and we rather invest this money into retention after the World Cup, into prizes during the World Cup, and basically try to establish a better position when all the others will already spend most of the budget during this year. So we are again looking at the long term rather than a short term acquisition period of time, just to buy a certain amount of players. It's a good way, by the way, to introduce the product to new audiences. I know a lot of women, for example, during the World Cup place a bet, which they usually don't do during regular season. So it's a good opportunity. Maybe to complete what Carlos said is I think there is an opportunity in the World Cup if you bring something fresh, product, a new angle of marketing, something like that. But trying to compete with the big one on the same game, I think it's a waste of money. If you have something new to offer, I think it's a good opportunity to offer something new, and definitely you can do it during the World Cup. I don't know if it's too late, but let's say we are in the almost at the end of the game, like 19 minutes, something like that.
I can give you, I think, a good example on that. So because sometimes I think spending less but in less traditional channels could be more efficient. So for example, one of the things we're doing with one operator is they wanted to have you build a relationship with one of our tipsters. So for the World Cup, what we work together is that we want him there. So basically, they are flying him to the World Cup. They want him to be in the games. They want him to share a lot of content about being there, about watching the games, training, etc. So creating a lot of content, and then just posting and sharing his bets with that operator will be just one single thing. But it's not anymore about we want you just to publish all your tips with us and that's it. We only care about that. They are a lot more interested in the content that he can create around the World Cup than anything else. And honestly, that's a lot cheaper than some other more traditional approaches, I think.
I would like to add one thing, because regarding the you said, and also Habib, because one thing is what you spend during the game, the 90 minutes, which is to be the sponsor of the World Cup, or to buy some ads during the halftime, which cost a lot. But I think the conversation should be, or the thought should be like more or less what you said, what you do around the match or the matches. So I think this is the key, and this is going to be more cost effective rather than maybe to invest like a couple of millions in some ads in during the halftime, which you are competing with hundreds of brands as well at the same time.
Okay, just want to add something. This will be the first World Cup that will be seen using different screens. You can be at the pub with your friends, but also you have your mobile to watch what your favorite tipster influencer will be sharing. So it's a different way to bet. And that makes a difference that will create new opportunities for the coming massive events.
You want to add something, Nabib? Or?
No?
Okay. Okay. So I think that the highlights here will be that Mexico is still not a mature market. It's a huge population that is completely different from the north to the south. It's not about payment methods. It's not about technology. It's about the culture. It's about also land-based culture. It takes time. It's totally different from other regions in Latin America, even if it's the same languages and could not be treated like as Latam, whole Latam. Yeah, work up all the CPAs and all of this, but I think Mexico is about retention and how you treat the player. So if in 1 year time we will visit here, what will be your thoughts about this panel? What will you say? One sentence each, please.
I think you made a very good summary, first of all. Really. About this panel, I think we will be looking at the next big event probably in Mexico. And we'll see new competitors coming in, so more competition. And Codere growing a lot, maybe.
Rosa.
Uh, just besides, of course, new competitors in the market, also new technology being adapted on the player experience. I think the key thing, one of the key things here is keeping player interested, improving the experience, and making creating interest for coming events.
Lucas.
Well, from my perspective, yeah, I mean, in a year time, I guess, AI will be something different, definitely, and more involved in the game. From my company perspective, we'll definitely be growing and going more and more to LATAM. We're like definitely 100% LATAM focused, and Mexico is definitely for us one of the big markets to enter. We are like already have a lot of presence in Brazil, thanks God. But Mexico is definitely one of the key targets and growing markets for us. So yeah, there's a lot of room for everyone here to get a piece of the cake.
I think probably we will still be saying not mature enough yet. I think that there will be a lot of more focus, as I said at the beginning, on the quality of the traffic and retention. And then from a creator's economy point of view, I think that there will be an explosion around that. And I think there will be a few of them becoming like their own media companies, so like with the ability to deal directly with the operators. They will be more professionalized, so I think there will be a lot more opportunities around that as well.
So from my point of view, as you mentioned, like much more operators will come to Mexico, will knock our doors, asking for what's available, which team is available, which sport. That's for sure. And but then I think the right strategy will always win. So let's see.
Okay. So I think we are running out of time. Yeah? 2 minutes. One question.
I have one actually, more for Carlos. Sorry. Like, how do you see the affiliate market in Latin, mainly, of course, in Mexico, which is the topic now, but compared to Europe, like we were saying about the maturity of the market here and there. From my experience, I've seen affiliates in Europe trying to export the module that they have to LATAM, and it's expensive, right? So a lot of the operator don't trust, let's say, the affiliates. So how do you overcome, let's say, these hurdles and the first impression that they have about the affiliate market?
Yeah, I think that there is less trust or confidence on affiliates in Latin America, especially from European operators. Probably, in most of the cases, just a topic, and they don't really know, the local market. Because, so for example, I see a huge difference with dealing with local operators compared with international operators in Mexico. We built amazing relationships with local operators in Mexico, working very well. And then, with international operators, they come to Mexico with very aggressive, strategies, thinking that they can just replicate what they do in some other market, then making mistakes such as, thinking that Mexico is just one other speaking, Spanish speaking market. So, the content I have in, some other Spanish speaking market, I will just, copy paste. So making a lot of mistakes. And so I think that, and one of the things that I'm not sure about, and all of you agreed, I think that in 1 year time there will be a lot more operators in Mexico. I'm not sure about that because, to be honest, what happened in the last few months with some operators getting blocked, at least from our point of view, it has impacted in some others trying to go there. Because honestly, what we've seen is that we were a bit concerned at the beginning because we were working with some of these operators in Mexico. But since we had long-term strong relationship with local players, we at the end of the day, what we've seen is that it benefited us. So we are working a lot better with local players. I think local players, they are retaining a lot more. Thanks to that. Probably that was one of the reasons why this happened. I'm not an expert on that side, but I think that it's about not making the same mistakes all the time, and understanding that Mexico is different.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Yeah.